Good morning, Crosswalk. Great to see all of you this morning. I'm on a different patio today because the back patio where I've been doing this is it's gotten a little warm. We're enjoying some great warm weather, and we're finally feeling that we're living in Phoenix again. So it's good to see all of you. I'm excited to be here with you this morning and share a couple of things with you. As always, I want to ask for you to help make this a better pastor on the patio by asking questions. I love fielding your questions. And so whatever questions you've got about what's coming up at Crosswalk or what we've got going on at Crosswalk, Pastor Chris filled us in on a number of different things going on in his leadership moment. And again, I want to underline one of the things that he said was the blood drive and how well that went yesterday. We just had some fantastic participation, and it's been truly cool to see all the different things that we've been able to do out in the community. Apart from the blood drive, we've got a team of people getting ready to go to St. Mary's Food Bank. We were able to put together over 50 food boxes for the Madison Elementary School District for families struggling there to make ends meet, and Crosswalk people really stepped up and participated in that. Was fantastic. And our outreach team, led by Phil Bischoff, has just been doing an excellent, outstanding job of making sure that this has been an opportunity for us to serve our community and love on them. And thanks, Phil, for sharing that comment from the Red Cross volunteer. I think anybody that watches our Crosswalk members at work and our volunteers at work, they are going to be impressed. And that's, of course, it's due to the generosity of the hearts of our members, but that's placed there by God himself. And we're so grateful God is at work in our church. God is at work through our members' hearts and minds and hands and feet. So it's good stuff. I also want to point out that, and Pastor Chris mentioned this too, that in a couple of weeks it's going to be Mother's Day. Can't believe how that snuck up on us this year, but it has. And every year at Crosswalk, we enjoy doing some great things for our mothers. And this year will be no different, even if we're not able to meet in person. And so we're looking forward to that effort. And there is a specific page on our website for that. And maybe Pastor Chris, if he gets a chance, I see he's on there, he can share the link to that page for us. And you can go directly there and see how we're going to be celebrating Mother's Day at Crosswalk this year. We want to really let our moms know how much we value them and love them, and want them to feel appreciated at this time of year, even if coronavirus is trying to wreak havoc in our midst. And speaking of that, it seems like things are getting back a little bit to normal. They're not there yet here in Arizona, but in many states are opening up. And so you might be curious what our plans are as Arizona opens up. What we're looking at right now, you've been noticing, I'm sure, that we've been coming to you in worship from our homes. And you saw Pastor Chris's beautiful home today. And each week we're trying to improve how we do that. I want to thank Stephen Millerman. We saw some of those improvements this morning in the camera angles, the additional lighting that he was able to put together. So that hasn't been easy necessarily on our worship team, but we've made it happen from homes. But the next stage would be, if possible, and again, we'll take this day by day. I don't want to make any of this sound like it's etched in stone, but our next logical step, if our schools don't open back up very soon, would be to go to ALA, where we can at least produce the worship from there, and we'll have a little bit more control over things like lighting and sound quality from there. I'm going to pause here before I tell you what comes after that and see if we've got any questions I should be answering.
A couple of questions about more help with the outreach opportunities.
Okay.
Is it still possible to help?
Yes. So Phil's on here, and Phil can field some of the, is it possible to still help? The answer is yes, and we're going to continue to do things for our community. And so there will be, I'm sure, even new efforts going on as we transition back to some degree of normalcy. But that being said, you can keep up on all the outreach opportunities, things like our Mother's Day effort, all of that, by going to cwlk.church, and then in the upper right-hand corner on the navigation bar, you'll notice a link that says News. So I want to encourage you to stay connected to Crosswalk in two ways. Number one, fill out your communication card, share your prayer requests with us. We want to know that you're okay. We want to know that things are going well in your world. And another way to do that, by the way, is prayer@cwlk.church. You can email us there, prayer@cwlk.church. And that way you can let us know how you're doing. Now, if you want to know how we're doing and what's going on at our church, and have the conversation move back the other way, then go to cwlk.church and click on that news link. And everything that's going on right now is contained on that page. And once in a while, like we do with cwlk.church, celebrate-mothers-day landing page. We'll have a special page for certain big events, but a lot of the times everything is going to be found in those links on the articles on the Crosswalk news page. Anything else for me?
Joshua Falk was asking about when we do transition to meeting together, what will we do for people who aren't comfortable to come out yet, even if a lot of us are?
Right, Joshua, that's a great, that is a great question. So one of the things that I think we're all feeling is that learning how to do the live stream has been big for us, and we want to continue to be able to do the live stream. And so I think the live stream will continue even if we're meeting publicly and people can come to, let's say we start meeting at Arizona Lutheran Academy. I'm sure there's still a lot of people, because we're getting attendance from not only all around the country, but all around the world. A lot of people are still going to be interested in our worship service, our message. And so we're going to continue to live stream that. You'll continue to be able to access it at 9 and 11 on Sunday morning. And then you'll be able to access it as well via YouTube and Facebook at other times of the week, and possibly even on the live stream there. We haven't worked all that. So trust me when I say the live stream is not going away. That will continue. It will change, of course, as we move venues, but it's going to continue. And maybe I should say expect a few bumps on the road, because Each time we move or enter a different phase, that means we have to sort of go back and figure certain things out again. So, but also I'll assure you that we'll keep working at improving the experience until we have it exactly where we think it should be and where we want it to be. Any other questions for me?
No, just Joshua says their dog has been enjoying going to church with them.
Well, Jake the dog, right?
Yes.
Jake. I remember Jake from last week, Joshua. And yeah, we love that Jake the dog can view our worship services. Of course, if you resort, Joshua and Carissa, only to attending via live stream, then we'll miss seeing you. So hopefully you're not, nor is anybody going to do that unless they're really far away. But that's all our way of saying we love you guys and we love seeing you too. All right.
Olson had a question about communion, and I'm curious if there's any new activity like the egg hunt for kids.
Yes. So again, we're strategizing on communion, and we just haven't felt like we had a good way of doing this without sort of appearing to go against what the governor was asking for, and without endangering people, other than to do it privately. So we've all agreed that we'll make the offer, and we would love to do this. If you personally would like to have communion, then just contact us at office@crosswalkphoenix.com or office@cwlk.church would be better. And let us know. prayer@cwlk.church as well. Let us know that you'd like to have one of the pastors or staff come out and serve communion to you. Now, having said that, I'm also going to say I think things are going to change shortly with the size of the groups that are being recommended, and that will change things again. We may be able to host communion in small groups at ALA, at Arizona Lutheran Academy at 27th Avenue and Southern. So within a week or two, I think it could all change again. And going back the other direction, we'll be able to minimally, say, host groups of 10 or so and provide communion at ALA at a designated time. And that's what we're hoping for. We're hoping that we're going to get past it as soon as possible, this isolation phase where we're pretty much all asked to stay apart from one another. Any other questions?
Well, I remember last week at the end, we were talking about fulfilling the 5 purposes as we isolate and do virtual groups.
Sure. So if I'm understanding the question correctly, you're asking how can we keep the 5 purposes in mind even while we can't worship? And I think, think of what the 5 purposes are. And let's talk a little bit and remind ourselves of what the 5 purposes of the church are. So why does the church exist? The church exists for fellowship, to connect with one another, stay connected. So how can we stay connected? It exists for discipleship. How can we keep growing more deeply into our faith and into our relationship with Jesus Christ? It exists to serve one another, but also the community. It exists to worship and honor God. And the Bible makes it clear that that can be done in many other ways than Sunday morning, but Sunday morning is an important part of that. And then finally, the church exists to share the gospel with others, to reach out. So those are the 5 purposes of the church. And every one of those, there are ways, and I'm sure you can think of ways that I won't even mention here, where we can keep doing that. What's interesting is the 5 purposes of the church are not not just the five purposes of the church, they're the five purposes of every individual Christ follower as well. So as individual believers personally in our own lives, we can make sure that others have the fellowship and the community and the connection they need. We can make sure that we support and grow others in their faith. One of the ways we're doing those first two in our own group, I've got several groups, but in the last couple of days, for example, members of one of my Midtown groups has been reaching out, actually for the last several weeks, sharing encouraging Bible passages, sharing encouraging music videos, or just thoughts, truths from the Bible that have proven encouraging to them, and then they share them with the rest of us, asking for prayers. In my men's group, we had, unfortunately, a death, not of the member of the growth group himself, but of someone in his family. And he asked us for our prayers and encouragement. And many of the group members reached out to him and said, how can we help? How can we pray for you? How can we encourage you and the rest of your family who are hurting right now? So that does both the connection piece and the growth piece. And the growth piece continues as we continue to meet in our groups via Zoom. Now, I will tell you that groups are going to go on hiatus for at least a month, and then we'll reset and see how many groups are interested in doing a summer session. Pastor Dan is feverishly working on that even as we speak. And then typically that summer semester is a little bit shorter, sometimes a little bit less regular, maybe instead of every week meetings, every other week meetings. But keep an eye peeled on the Grow tab on the cwlk.church website. And soon there will be news coming out also in the weekly emails about what the summer semester of our groups will look like. We will be taking a break for about a month in May, though, so you can expect that. So then, how can we serve? Well, that's one that I think we've done pretty well on in the past few weeks, thanks to our outreach team, and also thanks to Chris and his connections team, who've encouraged members to call one another and ask each other how they're doing. So those two areas of ministry, the connections area and the outreach area, have continued to provide opportunities to serve. Worship, well, we're trying to make sure you have that weekly worship opportunity. And Pastor Chris made a good suggestion today about a daily worship opportunity through the YouVersion Bible and a devotional plan that he found there. And he might be able to link us to that while we're still on here. And then finally, the outreach platform. Well, whenever there's tension, transition, or trouble, what we affectionately refer to here at Crosswalk as the 3 T's, there are your open doors to reach out to your neighbors, your family members, your friends, and let them know that there's a reason in the midst of tension, transition, and trouble that we can all find peace and that we can still be grateful and joyful at times like this. So just keep an eye peeled for tension, transition, and trouble, and you're going to find opportunities to reach out. So there's the 5 purposes. That was a rather lengthy disposition on it, but
while you were talking about the outreach and serving, it reminded me that a lot of people have offered to me that they would like to help someone else in a specific way, but they don't know who needs help. So maybe they make masks and they'd like to offer that, or they're not worried about going shopping. They would get something for someone. So maybe talk a little bit about specific offers and the prayer.
Yeah, that's great. So if you have a specific way, like maybe you're sewing masks and you want to be connected with an opportunity to do that. And we had a wonderful gal sew masks for Julie and me, and they're great. In fact, if you want to run and get one, I want to show one of those. So yeah, I mean, you can do that, and the best way to let us know that you want to serve in that way and ask for our help. If we're able, we may not always be able to help, but it is prayer@cwlk.church. Here we go. Look at this, guys. Someone sewed that for me. I can keep going shopping at the supermarket because someone made this awesome mask for me, and I really appreciate that. And it may be that we're going to be able to are going to be asked to wear masks for a little while. So now I'm well equipped thanks to the people that sewed this. And I know for a while they were asking if people could sew comfort masks like this for hospitals in the banner system. So just let us know if you have a way that you want to help others by sending an email to prayer@cwlk.church. And Chris, I see, has got the link to that there. Amy is mentioning that foster and adoption ministry is still going. That's one of our awesome groups that really helps with a lot of different things. But they have got some amazing parenting tips in there. But if you are interested in foster and adoption ministry, or in serving or helping with foster and adoption ministry, they're continuing to meet the first Sunday of the month, and the next meeting will be the first Sunday in May via Zoom. So you can get in touch with us, and if it's needed or helpful, we can put you in touch with Amy and the leaders of our foster and adoption ministry. So I wanted to point that out too. What else have we got going? Any other questions? Well, let's talk a little bit then for just a moment about what might happen if Amy, I see, just shared her email address. Thanks, Amy. So if you're interested in foster and adoption ministry, you want more information about that, her email address is in the feed. What happens if we get back to Crosswalk and we're just doing production there, and then things open up? Well, that's going to be a little bit dependent on how far things open up. If the governor simply opens the state, but the school districts don't open the schools yet, we'll probably start public worship at ALA. At that point, at least we'll have a venue, if not a specific Levine and specific Midtown venue. And meanwhile, we are looking for alternatives in Midtown as well. That one's just a little bit more difficult to come up with in some ways because we don't have an ALA up there necessarily. So we're looking for potential Midtown locations other than the schools too, so that we could have a temporary arrangement until the schools do open. So that would be the next step after just doing production work at ALA, would be to worship publicly at ALA, and potentially some Midtown location as well, yet to be identified. And then finally, when the schools do open back up, that's when we'll go back, and it'll be a new normal. Joshua asked about live streaming. The new normal will be live streaming will be part of what we do every week now. There will be Zoom groups. Not all of our groups obviously will be on Zoom, but we'll continue to offer groups on Zoom. And we'll continue to serve our community and do those things that we've kind of become known for during this pandemic. So those are things that you can expect in kind of those phases and stages. So going from the home to back to production at ALA, then from production at ALA to opening up to public worship, and then eventually back to our original locations. We are continuing to pray about when to restart our Beyond Borders / potentially we're going to call it Imagine campaign for our building. We don't want this to cause us to have to move back too far in our construction. And we're continuing to work on the development of the land even as we talk. There have been a lot of things going on just with the development of the land and the development of the baseline corridor. So that's ongoing. We feel like we're still on track. And if any of you have any questions about either the development of our property at 59th Avenue and Baseline or the capital fund drive for that, you can certainly ask those as well. All right, what else do we have? We're getting close to the end of our time. Got a couple minutes left.
Well, looks like both Ruth and Amy are talking about something for Midtown different from the other.
Okay,
So
right.
I don't know what
All
their
right.
thoughts are. But
So I see, okay, Julie tells me that there's a conversation about possible ideas for Midtown, and I know we have a family that have thought about offering their place. There are other churches that might be willing to let us use their site to worship. So I see there's some interest in that, and I will definitely take offers. I will definitely listen to ideas and pass those on to the executive team of our staff, and we'll keep going. There might be some value in having a week. This is just me, of one big joint worship service too. I don't know. We'll look at that. Continue to share with me what your thoughts and ideas on that are. I would love to hear from you on that. Anything else? All right. Well, we're right there. I think we answered all of today's questions. I was able to share some information. I just want to circle back and recap. Mother's Day is coming up. That's kind of our next big deal. And I want to encourage you to get on our website and find that landing page. And we'll keep sending out the link. And I think Chris put the link up there for you guys. So anyway, make sure you make that a great effort and help us to get that launched and going strong. I'm going to close by praying and just asking God to continue blessing us. Dear Father in heaven, thank you so much for a great Sunday and a great reminder from Pastor Chris of how important it is for us to protect ourselves from the attacks of Satan. And Satan and his evil angels are very real, and no doubt they want to take us down. But you are more real, you are more strong, you are more kind and loving, and we put ourselves into your arms for protection. And we commit to wearing that armor that Pastor Chris so beautifully explained this morning, so that we can be protected against those schemes of the evil one. And more than just protected, we can be on the offense, and we can use that sword of the Spirit to go out there and conquer the world for Christ, conquer the world for God's kingdom, and conquer the world for the gospel. Lord, be with us, be with Crosswalk, be with all our members, watch over and protect them, and help us to be a light in this world. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, Crosswalkers, thanks for joining me this morning. It's been a pleasure to talk with you, And again, don't forget, prayer at cwlk.church is a great way to stay connected with us during the rest of the week. All right. Have a great week in the Lord.